Hello and welcome to the arcade. If you know me, you know I love me some great gaming deals. I've pretty much always been conscious of how much I spend on my gaming collection, so I'm always on the lookout for new deals whenever possible. I check yard sales, thrift stores, eBay auctions, Goodwill auctions, Facebook Marketplace, GOG and Steam sales, and the list goes on and on. Really great deals are not as rare as you might think. That being said, I have clearly identified one place to not look for great gaming deals. G2A random Steam keys. Now don't get me wrong, G2A is normally fantastic. I've never had any issues redeeming keys that I've purchased from them, and they've always been delivered on time and at great prices. But in October of 2023, I was feeling a little sick of new video game prices, and I started to feel a little gambly. I was browsing G2A for some deals and I came across some random Steam key packs. And of course my goblin brain starts thinking, oh my gosh, I could get Red Dead Redemption 2 or Baldur's Gate 3 or Final Fantasy VII Remake, and all for just $9. But of course, anything that seems too good to be true probably is. And I had that proven to me not once, not twice, but 3 times before I finally learned my lesson. So today, to hopefully save you the time and money and heartbreak of buying random G2A Steam keys, dashing all of your hopes and dreams, I figured I'd show you everything that I bought and received from my 3 or so sets of G2A random Steam games. And to be honest with you, this was probably the top 3 biggest regrets of my game collecting career. Let's take a look.
Starting off with the first batch that I bought on October 5th for around $11 total, we have such acclaimed titles as Eastside Hockey Manager, MXGP, the official motocross video game, Super Time Force Ultra, A New Beginning Final Cut, and Streets of Fury EX. Now, to be honest with you, some of these games actually do have good reviews here on Steam and other platforms. So let's give each one a fair shot and see what they're all about. Keep in mind, these thoughts will just be my first impressions and not really a full review. Starting with number 1, Eastside Hockey Manager. I'll admit, I have no interest in sports management games at all whatsoever. It's totally cool that some people do, but for me there is no draw. However, I vowed to give each game a fair chance, so that's what I'm doing. And I pretty much have nothing to say. This is not so much a game as it is a simulator, obviously, but my guess is that only people who are really into management simulators will get anything out of this. There's no way any gamer can actually play this, right? Let's check out some reviews to make sure. Oh my. What? 11,000 hours? Okay, this review must be an outlier. There's no way people are actually playing this game for that long, right? Oh, 2,000 hours? 400 hours, 600 hours. I haven't even played Elden Ring or Skyrim for this amount of time. Okay, well, people love it, I guess. Enough for it to have over 1,000 reviews, a very positive overall rating, and multiple people with hundreds, if not thousands, of hours played. But honestly, for me, this is kind of a loss. I just have no interest despite all the great reviews, it's just not my kind of game. Still, good job to this developer for making something that, clearly, at least a handful of people really love. Number 2, MXGP, the official motocross video game. Now, I've played my share of MX games back in the day. MX vs ATV, MX Unleashed, so yeah, you could say I'm a seasoned veteran. Nah, in all honesty, I haven't really cared for motocross since I was like 13 or 14, but I'm still happy to give this game a try. If it's anywhere near as fun as MX Unleashed, then we're in for a great time. And looking at these reviews gives me a lot of hope. Let's take a look. Okay, so this game is definitely designed to be more of a motocross simulator rather than an arcade racing game. So with that in mind, let's see how immersive the realism on display here really is. Well, not a lot can be said for the visuals. I thought they looked fine in the cutscenes and loading screens and the trailers and stuff, but once we loaded into this first race here, Man, this has not aged well. The game controls fine, but just a little sluggishly. I've never driven motocross in real life, so I can't really speak for the realism aspect, but man, there is a lot more to think about than something like MX vs ATV. First off, the left thumbstick controls the steering of the bike. That's normal stuff, right? But then the right stick controls the angle of the rider's body. How am I supposed to work both sticks while holding the right trigger to accelerate and A to do whatever else? It just doesn't really work like that. I guess I could remap the controls, but this is the default control method. You'd think it would be mapped out ideally for the average player. Anyways, I never really felt like I needed to control the angle of the player's body anyway. All of my focus was on keeping the dang bike on the track. At least at first. It took me like a whole lap and a half just to get the hang of the physics. But once I did, I started moving up in the positions and eventually took first place on my first actual race. Aren't you so proud of me? But I gotta say, the visuals just aren't that great. The game, despite being 10 years old, doesn't really run that smoothly. The controls, while probably realistic, just feel so sluggish and finicky, and I just can't compare this to something like MX Unleashed, which is so smooth and fun and just easy and simple to understand. I feel like somebody out there has to enjoy this, but probably only the biggest MXGP enthusiast. Let's chalk up another one in the loss column. Moving right along to number 3, Super Time Force Ultra. Now this looks more like my style. 90% positive rating on Steam, pixel art graphics, retro side-scroller mixed with bullet hell and time travel? Okay, now this is pod racing. Let's give it a shot. Well, I have to say, I'm a little overwhelmed. The game is hard, very hard, but it's also super fun. And the time travel mechanic is genius. It took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to understand exactly how the timeout system works, but once I did, oh man. So basically, whenever you rewind time, or timeout as the game calls it, you also get the option to switch to a different character. Whether you do or don't, you'll still see your past self go along the same path, shoot at the same enemies, and do all the same platforming and stuff like that. And that means however many times you time out during a level, you'll see that many copies of yourself in your past life. And they actually contribute to the current run that you're doing. So you can build up an army of tons and tons of characters and firepower into very small sections of the game. You can blow things up in one run. You basically have to work together with your past self. This is really cool. I'm surprised I hadn't heard of this game before. It seems like something that would be doing really well on the Nintendo eShop or here on Steam. Only 648 reviews seems kind of low for a game with this complexity and quality, even though it may be kind of niche. I see no reason why more people aren't talking about this game. It's fun, challenging, fast-paced, has a really unique gimmick, and all the charm in the world. Out of all the games on the list, this is now the only one I know of that I will actually play more of outside of making this video. So we have our first one in the win column. Moving on to number 4, A New Beginning, Final Cut. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit that point-and-click adventure games are not really of any interest to me. Outside of Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, I can't even think of one legit point-and-click game that I've ever played for more than 5 minutes outside of Freddy Fish, Putt Putt, Spy Fox, and Pajama Sam. Those were all bangers, but that was years ago. I'm also a big reader of books, so when I see a game like this, I can't help but think that it would have just been better served as a novel instead of a point-and-click adventure game. The little bit of interactivity doesn't go far enough to make up for the loss of internal narration, description, and character development that can take place in a 300 to 600 page book. So I'm always a little skeptical of games like this, but I wanted to give it a fair shot like all the others, so I tried it and I couldn't get past the first scene. Okay, so we're presented with an interesting story of future Earth been devastated by some potentially man-made disaster from environmental issues and so on. Nice message, yeah, but again, this seems like it would be better served in book form. Anyway, we flash back to years before whatever incident destroyed the face of the planet, and we're playing as a guy named Bent, trying to fix his fogger. So we try tying the belt that was broken inside, and that doesn't work. Really, dude? And so now I'm searching his little house for the key to the basement where he keeps all of his fogger spare parts. And for the life of me, I cannot freaking find the dang key. I clicked on every single thing that I could think of. I spent 15 minutes in this one area and could not figure out what else to click on. So I probably unfairly gave up. I'll admit the story does sound interesting. I want to know what happened to Earth exactly, and I want to know what the characters are going to do to try to fix it. But I don't care enough to deal with this type of gameplay that I just find completely uninteresting. There's a lot of artistry here to be sure, but unfortunately, none of it is enough to keep me playing. Chalk this one up in the losses. Okay, so we're not doing so great here. We're already going to lose since we only have one game left in this batch and we already have 3 losses and only 1 win. But could the last game possibly be great enough to make up for those 3 losses? Let's take a look at number 5, Streets of Fury EX. When I first looked at the Steam page for this game, I thought the game was a joke or a meme of some kind. Digitized actors, the nostalgia critic as a playable character, but what's this? Overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam? 96%? Let's look at some of these reviews. You look at games like these and you laugh because they look too much like a joke to be real. Ha, yeah, guilty. You play it and realize it's an amazing game. Then you wonder, why can't more games be like this? Okay, I'm sold. Bought this game just to call myself a nostalgia critic main. Okay, bud. So let's see if this game is actually as amazing as Skelny says it is. Okay, it's kind of awesome. First of all, I actually love the presentation. The digitized actors thing is very retro, and it is so smooth. If you remember Mortal Kombat, the actors they captured for that look very choppy in those games. They probably didn't have the bandwidth or the hardware to include a ton of frame captures for them. But here, it is so incredibly smooth. It actually makes me wonder what would happen if they tried this again for Mortal Kombat. But anyway, the game is actually really well controlled, fast-paced, and gets you right into the action with a quick tutorial, and then boom, you're in it. It has really satisfying sound and visual effects during all the fighting, and the game does a great job at ramping up the difficulty by showing you some easy enemies at first, then demonstrating what's coming next before throwing some tougher enemies at you. The bosses are really cool as well, having a ton of health and a lot of unique moves. And then once you defeat a boss, they might show up again as a normal character or enemy in the next section, which is kind of cool too because it shows you that progression your character is making. I'm not exactly sure what the story of this game is supposed to be. I wasn't really reading anything, but that doesn't really matter to me at all. The game looks good, it feels good, and sounds good. It's so fun, and it's another one from the batch that I will leave installed so I can play more outside of this video. So we reached the end of the first group of games. We had 3 misses, but we had 2 wins. And those 2 wins were so big, they actually may have made up for all the losses. I mean, just look at these 2 games. Even though I was pretty bummed at first with what I got, I think I got my $11 worth here just for these 2 games. Honestly, I can't believe it took me this long to even get around to playing these games that I paid for. Oh well. So, let me tell you a little story about what happened next. I can't tell you what I was thinking, only what I was feeling. I was feeling like I got a little ripped off after that batch of 5 games had pretty much nothing that I was immediately interested in. So I went for a single game random key pack for a premium Steam game. So the stipulation was the game had to cost $40 or more and had at least a positive Steam review aggregate. I made the purchase and was awarded with the genre-defying, expectation-subverting, all-around amazing Crazy Goat. Yeah, it's about as good as it looks. So, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think I'll become one for a second here. Let me explain my theory. When I bought the premium Steam key on G2A, that was for games that were $40 or more. Okay, fine. So I look at Crazy Goat, and it was $40. and it was also for games that have a positive or better review score. And when I looked at Crazy Goat at the time, it did have a positive review score. But I believe that games like Crazy Goat and potentially other games are fake games created by these people that sell random G2A keys for premium titles in order to scam people who are trying to take advantage of deals on G2A. Almost all of the reviews when I first looked at the game were obviously fake, with just like a single word or short sentence, and gave the game a good review, saying almost nothing about it. There's probably a whole industry of creating fake games on Steam, making them cost the amount of premium games according to the random Steam key rules, and then handing these fake games out to everyone who buys those keys for a set amount of time before they get caught or something like that. If you look at Crazy Goat now, you'll see a number of negative reviews and that the game has been reduced in price from $40 all the way down to 99 cents, which is probably way closer to what the game is actually worth. Now, with that conspiracy theory out of the way, let's play some Crazy Goat. Okay, first of all, I'll be right back. I need cochlear implants after this game just blew up my freaking eardrums. And there's no options menu to change the volume of the game. In fact, there's barely any menu at all. There's a menu with a play button, and then there's a menu with a level select. That's it. No option to change the controls, change the resolution, graphics, screen ratio, sound, nothing. Okay, but let's get to the gameplay before we really start complaining. Oh my gosh, this isn't even a game. Calling this a game would be too generous. This is like an hour of messing around in Unity on a drunken afternoon. Calling this a game would be like calling the Star Wars Holiday Special cinema. Calling this a game is doing a disservice to all video games out there. This is not a game. This is a prank. I refuse to play any more of this. Crazy Goat, you deserve even worse, but you're going in the lost column. Now, actually playing this thing confirms the suspicions I had all along. And trust me, I acted upon those suspicions. As soon as I opened my premium Steam key and saw that it was for this game, Crazy Goat, without ever playing or even installing it, I emailed the seller on G2A and asked for my money back. They didn't agree, but they did tell me that if I changed my review from 1 star up to 5 stars, that they'd give me a set of 5 random Steam keys. In the moment, I was still flustered, didn't think it through, and just said, yeah, sure, okay, I guess. And that's how I ended up with the second batch of games, with such revered classics as Tetris RTX, Pipeline RTX, Need for Spirit Off-Road Edition, Mini Golf, and Carrot Girl Adventures. No, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Disappointed in myself for ever thinking that it couldn't get worse than Crazy Goat. Disappointed in myself for being greedy enough to think, ooh, sure, for 5 more random Steam keys, I'll gladly change my seller rating. And look where that got me. Oh well, let's just give these games a try and just... I don't even know anymore. Starting off with Tetris RTX. Let's take a look at the store page and check out some reviews. Oh, okay. Not off to a great start. Our first mixed reviews game. Here's the description of the game. Tetris RTX is Tetris like you've never seen before. Incredibly addictive with the best realistic graphics. What, like the best realistic graphics of all time? Of any game ever made? Golly, that is quite the statement. Let's check out some reviews. Okay, people are clearly not happy with this. But if I'm going to stick to my original promise of giving all these games a try, I guess I'd also better do it with this one. So the game starts and I'm already playing? You can play Tetris with the pieces falling in the background on the main menu. Why? And how do I actually start the game? I can't use the keyboard. Do I click? But it looks like it's selected exit. Do I just click on start? Oh, I just click start, but it has to be on the text. There's not like a bubble around it. No feedback to show me what I'm about to select. No options once I click start. We just get dropped into the first level, I guess. But what is this? What is this thing? Is this some kind of obstacle in the play space? Oh no, turns out that's just decoration in the foreground. And what are these Tetris pieces? This has got to be the ugliest Tetris game I've ever seen. I can barely tell what type of piece is falling, which makes it really hard to know where to fit it. And the music is so repetitive, just droning the same beat and few chords over and over and over again. I cannot take any more of this. I just can't do this. Tetris RTX, you are going into the lost column. And now, on to number 2. From the same lovely developers of Tetris RTX, we have Pipeline RTX. From the Steam page, Pipeline RTX is a strategic puzzle game. The goal of the game is impossibly simple. You need to turn the various parts of the pipe into certain positions so that in the end the water can, albeit with a large number of meanders, but pass through the water supply. Okay, fine, a puzzle game. I'm not afraid of a little brain challenge. Let's check out some reviews first. Oh my, even worse than Tetris RTX? Now I really don't even want to install this. But alas, the show must go on. Wait a second, that guy lost his wife playing this game. Maybe I don't want to risk it. Starting off, we have yet again barely a menu. Just start and exit, and once we hit start, there's no options, no instructions, no music even. Just the soothing sound of running water. And once again, you can play the game of Pipeline in the background of the main menu. Why? Ask not. So let's get into a game. Okay, so you just click on the connections that you want to rotate. That's fine. And try to make the water move from one side to the other. Okay. Actually, it's not horrible. It's definitely not as offensive as Tetris RTX. Sure, it's barely a video game, but at least I would call this a game. It has puzzles, progressions to the next levels. I mean, it's not very nice to look at, and there doesn't seem to be any continuity, ramping difficulty curve, or anything tying this all together. But hey, it's a puzzle game, and it works. Still, not saying it's good or anything, just that sure, it works. It looks and feels like something that, again, was put together in an afternoon in Unity, and I'll definitely never play it again, so this is going over in the lost column. Next up, we have Need for Spirit Off-Road Edition. Let's head over to the Steam page to see what's up. Okay, this looks promising. I mean, it doesn't look great, but at least it looks like an actual game. 70% positive isn't the worst thing I've done today. Let's see some reviews. Interesting. This reviewer says that the game cost $57. That adds some fuel to our conspiracy theory. If this was at that price, it could be issued under the premium games tier for the G2A random Steam key pack. The next review on the side just says, Jesus save me. It just says, Jesus save me. Jesus save me. The next review on the side just says, Jesus save me. So I guess we're about to experience something life-threatening. Okay, here's something positive though. The menu song makes me think of... Wait. It says, the menu song makes me remember of Markiplier. Well, that's gotta be a good sign, right? Let's boot it up and try it out. This is not even a game, really. Just 15 seconds into this, and I can already tell this is either intentionally bad or just completely untested and unfinished. The controls are really slippery and the music is done with voices and kazoos. The graphics are just so bland looking and the car gets stuck on absolutely everything. It's way too easy to flip over, and going into the water doesn't even do anything to stop you. It's like it's not even there. I'm leaning towards intentionally bad due to some of the reviews I saw and the absolutely obnoxious music. But yeah, either way, this is not a good experience. And I guess I did something to my car very early on that caused it to be leaning to the left, and I had to make that adjustment for over 500 seconds of racing. So yeah, I'm going to be leaning over for a while. This was just very hard to review because of the obvious intentionally bad nature of it. But it's just not fun, and it's not nice to look at or listen to. This is another loss. I am never playing this again. And now on to the next one. Mini Golf. Seems harmless enough. Hopefully it's just a simple little game that can help take my mind off the atrocity that was Need for Spirit. Let's take a peek at the Steam page to see what this is all about. Oh no. Please God, no. Not the same developer of Tetris RTX and Pipeline RTX? Not Piece of Voxel. No! Oh boy, here we go. Mixed reviews. Let's scroll down and see what people are saying. The first review says, "This is the worst golf game I've ever played. Imagine playing golf with a square. 10 out of 10. Okay, we're off to a stellar start. Next review. I saw it was on sale and thought it would be a fun way to pass half an hour. This is not a game, it is barely a mini golf environment. The ball is not spherical, the putter is inconsistent and buggy. The maps are built to abuse the poor physics and launch your ball into space at every moment. I wouldn't recommend this game if it was free." Okay, not even if it was free? That seems a bit harsh. Let's keep going. "Whoever made this game, you need to write a letter about stupid stuff and then burn your house down, then drown yourself. Nothing in this game makes sense. In real life is so much easier." Alright, they're clearly upset. Last review. "Guys, it's not good and it's not completed." Okay, let's play it. You know it's a bad sign when the person playing the game in the Steam trailer can't even keep the ball in the course. But anyway, let's not judge a game by its Steam trailer, shall we? Let's play it and find out for ourselves. Jesus save me. Honestly, I'm not even sure how this passes any Steam quality tests. It does not even function as a mini golf game, even though theoretically it has everything that it should have. Once again though, we get the famous piece of voxel, no menu, just 2 options. We start playing and immediately the music makes me nauseous. Even worse than the music is the game's physics. It's like either the ground isn't fully flat, or like the other reviewers said, the ball isn't actually spherical because something is not adding up here. And the power of the swing of the club is totally inconsistent from moment to moment. It makes no sense. You might think you're about to hit the same shot as your last try, but then your ball will suddenly fly right off the course. This is an absolute mess of a game that cannot even be enjoyed for the simple fun that it should be. This is a terrible, terrible game, and definitely going into the lost column. This feels intentionally bad. And the final game of this batch of 5 is Carrot Girl Adventures. This game is a... Oh, actually I don't know what this game is. I assumed it was a 2D side-scrolling platformer, but the game doesn't have a Steam page anymore. There's a couple messages if you look on the community hub, but there's no reviews, screenshots, videos, nothing. I guess we're going in blind on this one. Wish me luck. Okay, so it's definitely a 2D side-scrolling platformer. I like the design of the main character, and some of the music is pretty decent as well. But I just do not understand the design of these levels. There's no rhythm to anything, especially this last one, which I got stuck on and quit after about 25 attempts. The camera is fixed a little too tightly to the character, and the jump is too floaty. Like, even if you just slightly tap forward, you go flying through the air. It's really hard to maintain control of your landings. And also, these freaking spikes have way too big of a hitbox. I don't even know how I'm supposed to navigate like half a dozen of these platforms with the spikes in the middle if I don't even have full control over my character and can't really see what's coming because of the camera. The game also controls very strange, literally, because to move is WASD, but to jump is spacebar, and you can't change anything. The options menu only lets you lower or increase the volume of the game. Not super helpful. Overall, I'd say this works fine as like a very, very early demo of a game, but needed a lot more polish before being released here on Steam. There's definitely some potential with the main character and the gameplay. And that's it for the second batch of games. I guess since all the games from that batch went into the lost category, the least we could do is rank them from best to worst. Yeah, let's do that. The best one of the bunch was definitely Carrot Girl Adventures. While it wasn't a good game, it at least had very functional gameplay and music that didn't make me want to run a power drill through my ears. Next is probably Pipeline RTX. I actually got some satisfaction out of the puzzles in the game and felt a determination to solve some of them. I actually felt something other than disgust while playing a piece of voxel game. Wow, who'da thunk it? Next is going to be Need for Speed, specifically the Off-Road Edition. It's bad, like really bad, but it's still more playable than the last two. Tetris RTX will be the number 2, since even though it's a complete affront to the name of Tetris, it at least had some iota of that gameplay in it, even if it wasn't exactly correct. And by far the worst was Mini Golf, which I can't even stand to talk about anymore. It's just that bad. Jesus save me. And because I'm such a glutton for punishment, I bought one more 2-pack of random Steam keys from G2A and ended up with Guzzlers Extreme and No Time to Explain, both of which I had never heard of, but honestly, both of them look decent. Let's take a look at No Time to Explain first. We've got 83% positive reviews, which is nice, and a funny, wacky, old-school flash game aesthetic that I really appreciate. Scrolling through the reviews, I saw someone mention time travel. I know time travel is a popular trope in video games, but did I seriously end up with 3 games containing time travel in these random keys that I bought? Anyway, let's boot it up and give it a try. I'm actually excited to play it, especially after these last 5 games were so abysmally bad overall. So you play as this guy who gets a visit from himself in the future. You take over this beam gun that can launch you through the air, and you have to navigate sets of levels that provide progressively more challenging platforming sections. And that's it, at least for the first 10 or 15 minutes that I played. And it's super fun. And you do get at least one different weapon/propulsion device a little ways into the game. The controls are really solid, the gameplay and level design are good, and there's a decent amount of humor to the game. The puzzles are satisfying, the guns are cool, and it's just a really solid game. For the first game in this 2-pack, we have a winner, meaning that it's a good game. I'll keep it installed and probably replay it again sometime soon. But now we have finally reached that point. It's time to talk about the final game of all of the G2A random games that I got, Guzzlers Extreme. To be honest, I don't really have high hopes for this one. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not a huge fan of racing games generally. I really liked MotorStorm, and I still play all the Mario Kart games and Star Wars Racer, but typically racing, especially more realistic type racing games, aren't one of my go-to genres. But I'm determined to give Guzzlers Extreme the chance it deserves. Let's start once again by taking a look at the store page. Okay, this seems to be by far the most popular game of the bunch. Almost 3,000 reviews and sitting at a respectable 85% positive. And wait, is that the Jagex? As in RuneScape Jagex? I guess it is. That's interesting. And I'm even more interested now that I see this is a combat racing game. This is so much more my speed, if you will. I do love a good combat racing game. MotorStorm has that feel, but even better than that is Road Redemption. Road Redemption is a game I played a lot through my college days because the races were pretty quick and it was easy to pick up and drop out of kind of game. It was fast-paced and had super satisfying gameplay. I haven't played it in a long time, but I do remember it quite fondly. So that'll be my baseline or my standard to compare Guzzlers to, I guess. Here we go, final game of the bunch. Let's see how it holds up. I tried a quick race first to get an idea of how the game works. There's 8 or so racers, everyone has a weapon, and you pick up items on the track like ammo, car repairs, extra nitrous, I think, and stuff like that. And right away, I can feel that the game controls really well. The turning is tight, the physics are pretty spot on, and the presentation is really well done. The music is kinda corny, but it's pretty intense and fitting for the scene, and it's pretty satisfying to take someone down. Death is permanent on the racetrack, so you do have to watch your overall health or you will crash out permanently. That being said, cars have a lot of health, so it takes a lot of crashing and a lot of bullets to actually take someone out. It would be more satisfying, I think, if you could kill other racers just a little bit quicker, but I think this way actually adds more strategy to the game long term. Then I tried out the first race of a campaign mode, where you get to buy multiple cars to add to your garage and customize their stats and even weapons, I think. I gotta say, I'm glad we ended on a winner. This game is really fun, and while I probably won't keep it installed, it is at least a really solid game and feels like the kind of game I probably would have bought for my Xbox 360 back in like 2012 or so. Guzzlers Extreme is a definite win. So that's it. all of the games that I received from random Steam keys through G2A.com. Let's go back over our rankings of all of them for a nice little summary here at the end of the video. In the lost column we have Eastside Hockey Manager, MXGP, the official motocross video game, A New Beginning Final Cut, Crazy Goat, Tetris RTX, Pipeline RTX, Need for Spirit Off-Road Edition, Mini Golf, Carrot Girl Adventures. And in the win column we have Super Time Force Ultra, Streets of Fury EX, No Time to Explain, and Guzzlers Extreme. So out of 13 games, only 4 of them were decent and only 3 of them will stay installed on my hard drive until I beat them. Is that a win overall or a loss? Financially, I think you could argue that I got my money's worth. The amount of money to buy the games that I liked comes out to more than what I spent on the whole G2A lot. But these are not games that I ever would have sought out and purchased willingly without these random keys. Certainly none of them were on my Steam wishlist. And that's kind of the point of all this, right? You can't expect random Steam keys to get you something that you have a real interest in. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad I discovered Super Time Force Ultra and Streets of Fury EX, but for the $25-ish that I spent on this whole lot, there are 12 games on my Steam wishlist that I could have bought instead, and arguably had a lot more fun with. Heck, I could have even bought all 4 of the cheapest games on my wishlist for the same amount of money, and probably been way better off. But that's what gets some of us, that thrill, that chance that you're taking that you might get a key for Elden Ring or Ghost of Tsushima. But if you break it down, the chances of you getting something like that is astronomical. Do you know how many games are available to buy on Steam? It's a lot. Like 12,000. Don't fall for the G2A random Steam key trap like I did. Let mini golf be a lesson to you. Save your money for games that you actually want instead of gambling for a random chance to get something you might like but will probably hate.
So now that we've reached the end of the video, I would love to hear your thoughts. What did you think about the games that I played? Were you interested in any of them? Have you tried any of them before? Have you tried buying random Steam keys before? And did you have any wins or any losses like I did? How did your experience compare to mine? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.